What's up, guys? I'm Random Frank P. Cat's finally out of the bag. Today we're going to be reviewing Razer's brand new flagship release, the Razer Viper V3 Pro. Almost 2 years after the last Viper V2 Pro, we have an upgraded 54-gram model, which not only sheds some weight, but boasts some internal upgrades as well that really shocked me when I first got my hands on it. So if you're looking to upgrade or you just want to find out more about it, we'll go over it all for you guys today in this review. This is the first time in 5 years where we're seeing a physical design change in the Viper's flagship lineup, excluding the Viper Mini Signature Edition, of course. And while not immediately noticeable off the bat, this is much more closely related to their Viper V3 Hyperspeed, which is their battery-powered budget option, blended with the design language of the latest Death Adders. So while subtle, we do have some differences in terms of contour, shape, and dimensions. The front of the paddles are more straight now versus going inward from the V2 Pro. The side walls of the mouse are a bit more flat versus the more contoured waist from the V2 Pro. The side buttons here are slightly larger and they're a bit more separated, addressing a big complaint from the previous Viper releases. Then lastly, the top of the mouse has a more rear shifted hump, coming in at just about 2 millimeters higher now. That brings the total height to 39.9 millimeters, just a hair under 40 millimeters versus the 37.8 from the V2 Pro. It comes in at 127 millimeters long, 59.7 millimeters wide at the middle grip, and 63.9 millimeters at the hips. The weight of 54 grams here is confirmed. Sometimes you'll see a few grams off of what is actually advertised, but here it's spot on, down just 4 grams this model. Now, if you factor in this new shape and weight, this is very similar in almost every way to the Superlight 2, which isn't a bad thing, but it is pretty evident these new changes were made for more hand sizes, which is why the Logitech shape has been so popular. The coating has also changed this time around on the V3 Pro. It feels a bit more grippy despite the flat matte finish it has, whereas on the V2 Pro the coating was a bit more textured, and the new coating does a good job of not showing like fingerprints or smudges, again despite being less textured. Now, the majority of the changes actually come internally, starting with their sensor. This is their Focus Pro 35K Gen 2 sensor. And again, while you're not expected to game at 35,000 DPI, it's all about the tech that brings efficiency at 99.8% resolution accuracy, which means it's better and more accurate than most gaming mice on the market. It's also better tracking on glass mouse pads, which have seen their rise in popularity over the last few years. Now, along with this upgrade, we also get native 8K Hz polling out of the box. And while this was capable in the past, you needed to purchase the $30 Razer Hyperpolling dongle separately, but now it's included for you. You can enable that in the Synapse software. Stock out of the box, it's still at the standard 1K Hz. And what's cool is you can set it to be a separate polling rate that triggers only when you're in game, so you're not wasting battery at like 8,000 Hz just, browsing. Then real quick, while we're here, you can now adjust your DPI increments in steps of 1 to really fine tune that sweet spot. And they also have an option to match the sensitivity of your old mouse that you were using prior to the V3 Pro, so that adjustment now is more seamless. So if you were gaming at 800 DPI in another mouse, using the sensitivity matcher will set it to the translating DPI for the Razer sensor, just showing you even more the slight deviation from mouse to mouse. So all these new changes are obviously made with better ergonomics in mind for the physical design and an upgrade to the internal tech. Two quick things to touch on. The feet underneath are the same 100% pure PTFE, but as you can see, they're significantly larger. They take up like 2/3 of the entire bottom of the mouse now. Still super smooth, but this will annoy those who do swap to aftermarket skates, because with each Viper release, they've changed the shape. So none of the prior feet are gonna work with this really. And then second, the switches. They are the same switches, the Gen 3 opticals, but they feel wildly different. Now, when I first got this in, my initial reaction was like, whoa, these new switches, they feel great. They have this solid tactility, they're nice and crisp. That was lacking in comparison on the V2 Pro now. However, they're the same switches. What's changed is the inner construction of the nylon materials used inside that just make everything feel tighter, tolerance-wise, and they provide this really satisfying tactile click. There's zero pre or post travel. Construction-wise, this mouse is just on another level. So all these changes would really be irrelevant if it wasn't a good performing mouse, right? That's obviously the most important factor. And as I've alluded to, with the new internals to the shell, the way the switches feel, and just the overall mouse in the hand as a whole, this really does feel incredible. I've been rocking a Pulsar mouse the last year plus now, but I've been loving my time with this. Again, that upgraded sensor is pretty much industry leading in terms of accuracy and efficiency. And even though it's only 4 grams, yeah, I myself would also like to see it cut a bit more weight than the Viper V2 Pro. If this was like 48 grams even, that'd be great to see. But again, it is still lighter and the sensor's better. Now, I pretty much game at 4K hertz. Again, with the included hyperpolling dongle, you can go up to 8K, but that really does drain the battery. At 8K hertz, you're lucky to get 17 hours. Stock at the 1K hertz, you can get up to 95 hours, which is definitely pretty good. But if you want that middle sweet spot, like I showed you before, you can change it so that you do have a different polling rate inside of a game. So I would highly recommend doing that. So that way at desktop, you can have the most battery at 1K hertz when you're browsing, and then in-game switch it to either 2, 4, or 8K hertz. I know there's been talks, how much does that polling rate difference really make? But I'm telling you, even at gaming at 4K hertz, this feels insanely smooth, crisp, accurate. It's really like a natural extension of the hand, which is 100% what you want and what you look for if you're gonna be buying a new mouse. So at the end of the day, although not the most flashy of upgrades, Razer really gave us something special here with the V3 Pro. Like I showed you before, how closely in comparison it is to the Superlight 2, I feel like they're coming for Logitech's neck, because who would want to use that when this is lighter, has a better polling rate, and is relatively the same shape? It's admittedly a very dumb and minor complaint on my end, but I will say I do sort of miss that more aggressive look that we had on the previous Vipers. This, yeah, definitely more minimal aesthetic-wise. I just really liked how the Viper was aggressive looking. I thought it looked cool, but that's definitely not an important factor at the end of the day. This does retail for $160, which is a bit more than the previous Viper releases, but again, this features the latest tech, and even though it's just $10 more, you do get that $30 8K hertz dongle included for you. As a reviewer, I bounce around from product to product, what I'm using most often or what I choose to main. And like I said before, after using Pulsar for the last year now, I'm gonna be using this full time until the next latest and greatest thing comes out. But I absolutely love what Razer's doing with the Viper V3 Pro. Hey guys, that'll wrap it up for my review. Hope you all enjoyed. If you liked it, if you appreciate it, give it a big thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on all socials at randomfrankp. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.